Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to another MAMG Let's Play of Narcissu, if I remember how she said it correctly, or Narcissu, I'm guessing is how the English version of it is, but either way, man, what a crazy game. Like, I call it a game, but of course it's a visual novel. There's not really any choice options or anything like that, but I'm kind of into it, so I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen next now that we've escaped the hospital, and we're kind of just driving through the Japanese countryside together. What's going to happen? I have no idea. I piled useless trivia upon useless trivia, drew information from the TV and the TV alone. And soon, nothing was real anymore, fading in to the hollow space. Also, I changed the translation group to the insanity one to see how that one fares, because the other one had a couple little hiccups, so I don't know if this one's better or not, but we'll find out and we can compare them. Trains, cars, I love things that could take me places. I spread out maps on top of my narrow bed, changed routes over and over and over. Sedans, coupes, convertibles, rode on so many different kinds of cars. The number one route, continuing on forever. I ran on that road forever and ever and ever. Indigo blue skies, beautiful coastlines. I ran until I came at last to these places sketched in my dreams. Slowly tracing past the arc of a cape, running along the white sand of a beach, the sun to my back. If I but closed my eyes, I could go anywhere, toward landscapes that I had never seen with my own eyes, longing for the soil upon which I could never hope to tread. I mean, that's all you really can do if you're, stuck in a hospital, is just learn and gather information, whether it's useless trivia or not. The sky after the rain. The high-flying clouds streaming by at knife-edge speeds. The unique swishing sound of tire on wet asphalt. And through it all, there we were, driving along as always. No destination. Just a desire to keep going, no matter what. It wasn't as if I was looking to go to Awaji Island at all. We didn't even have the gas money to get there anyway. But if I drove straight on ahead on unfamiliar roads, even then I thought about these things. But where are we? I was forced to wonder. I didn't know my geography very well to begin with, and I was seeing all sorts of places names that I didn't recognize. I had planned on driving unto the ends of the earth, but with the GPS navigation system broken, I had no idea anymore. And before I knew it, I started looking around anxiously at the street signs as I drove. I don't know at all. Well, I don't know where we are right now. She'd said something to me and I'd given her a casual response. Because she probably wasn't even going to know even if I asked her. What? Wow. You knew all this? Did you happen to live around here or something? It was a surprise. No, it wasn't just surprising. It was nothing short of a miracle that she knew the roads to this detail. Because no matter how I looked at it, she didn't seem to have driven around all that much herself. Then, could it be? Do you know the way from here to Awaji Island? Well, see, we might be able to get there on normal highways without having to get on the tollways. And we might just have enough gas money to get us there. Well, no, that's not what I meant. With those words, she fell silent. and she turned to face the window with as frosty a demeanor as ever. But she wasn't looking at the passing scenery. It felt like she was staring at something in the unreachable distance. Her, then don't ask me. Just what the hell was that supposed to mean? How would she have replied if I told her that I was planning on going? We simply continued on, no purpose, and no aim. It wasn't as if we had a plan or schedule from the get-go. We didn't want to die on the 7th floor at our oh-so-fake homes. But I, and maybe I alone, must have wanted something to show us the way, no matter what that way might be. January 22nd, huh? Where'd you guys go now? The beach? It's cold. Some beach whose name I did not know. We'd reached the sea before we'd known it. I'd been planning on heading west, but somehow it looked like I ended up going south. A pitch black sky and a cold, windy waterfront. We both got out of the car and stared at the darkened sea. She stood apart from me as usual and stared into the distance, where the black sky and ocean melted into the horizon's edge. And after seemingly taking in the view of the ocean for a while, she slowly started walking toward the beach. Now I've got no idea what you're talking about. Those were her words, as she slowly walked into the sands, her back turned to me. The third time was the end. There was no fourth time. The choice was between dying on the 7th floor and dying at home. Apparently, no one had escaped this choice. Those were the words that she herself had spoken to me. And yet, on her second time around, she told me that she didn't want to die on the 7th floor or at home. This was after she'd explained the rules to me, after her duty to me was already over. That's why I felt that this is what she meant. I don't know, I've never drowned before. She turned her head to look at me as she said this, with the moon rising in the dark heavens as her backdrop. And her gaze, which had always been so far away, was directed straight at me. I don't know. I'd have to see when the time came. She then turned her back to me and slowly started walking toward the sea once more. Hey, tell me. Do you want to be stopped? Upon hearing my words, she stopped short of the waves. A strong wind kicked up a spray that beat against her feet. If you want to be stopped, then I'll stop you. Then it'll be fine if I don't stop you, right? There was no reply to my question, but her feet did not move any further either. So that was her answer, then and there. Wow, talk about some heavy themes. The high, high heavens of winter. Blue and clear, almost to the point of morning. Strong north winds beat against the electric wires overhead. The silver coupe reflecting that blue sky on its shining frame, with me at its wheel and her in the passenger seat as per usual. I didn't know where this was, but the real problem was that we were going to run out of gas soon. We didn't have much money to begin with, and after various convenience store purchases, we had even less. Only about 7,000 yen left. Of course, I had no idea how many liters this car took, but we could probably have enough money to fill the tank once. We still really didn't have a destination or anything, but we didn't fill up, but if we didn't fill up, we couldn't go anywhere else anymore. I'm gonna fill up on gas. And with that, I turned the steering wheel and drove into a gas station that was coming into view. Welcome. Will you be paying by credit or cash? Cash, please. Regular or premium? Regular? Premium? I had no idea. Well, then again, I had no idea about anything in this car. And on top of that, it had been a long time since those driver's license classes. Which one would you like? Well, there I was at a loss for words, and there stood the gas station attendant waiting for me. And then, just as I was about to answer at random because I didn't care which one of the two it was, she spoke from the passenger seat. Huh? Oh, okay, regular then. Okay then, regular full tank, paying with cash. Yeah, that'll be all. Okay then, thank you very much. The attendant skillfully began his operation with those cheerful words. The strangely disagreeable smell of gasoline wafted in from the window that I'd left open, roughly 10 centimeters. Hey, are you sure that this thing takes regular? She said nothing at all to this and just pointed at the prices list. Oh, so that was it. It was cheaper this way. I didn't understand it very well, but I didn't think there was much difference in price. And then I saw the gasoline meter and the number of liters being displayed. 25, 26, 27, 28. The numbers are going by at an incredible speed. Maybe I'd made a mistake. I began to get a little worried as I watched those numbers climb. I told him to fill the tank a while back, but I didn't have that much money on hand. Even with the coins, I only had about 7,000 yen, and of course, I had no idea how many liters this tank took. What was I gonna do if I didn't have enough money? I did some quick calculations and realized that after 60 liters, I wouldn't have enough. 38, 39, 40, 41. The numbers kept climbing without slackening pace at all. And I became more and more worried over something I usually didn't give a second thought to. How many liters does this thing take? I'd let the words out before I knew it. Huh? Oh, really? And just as she said, the gasoline meter stopped between 47 and 48. The sound of a receipt being printed out, and then the attendant at my window again. Thank you for waiting. The total comes to 5,240 yen. Oh, okay, here. I took out a 5,000 yen note and the crumpled 1,000 yen note from my pocket and handed them to the attendant. Alright, then your change comes to 760 yen. Here's your receipt. Thank you for your business. I turned straight onto the road upon hearing the attendant's cheerful voice. The silver coup, now in motion once more. On the bright side, I was no longer worried about running out of gas. On the not so bright side, we only had about 2,000 yen left. This worried me, but there was something that preoccupied me much more. Hey, question. Could it be that you're an expert on cars too? What do you mean, not really? You knew that this car took 50 liters of gas, didn't you? Of course, it may have well been that this kind of thing was absolutely common knowledge that I just didn't have. But she'd proven that she was an expert on these roads not so long ago. Having been caught by surprise twice now, I took out the vehicle specification from the glove compartment. And of course, you know the make and model of this car as well, don't you? You can think of this as a quiz if you want. Correct. And the specs? I had no expectation that she'd actually answer. I almost involuntarily followed along on the vehicle spec sheet as she rattled off figures with total disinterest. Holy crap, girl! No, it's alright. You're correct. I put the vehicle spec sheet back in its place. I couldn't believe my ears, but she nailed every single specification. I didn't think one could just memorize these things, and I couldn't even venture a guess as to why she had. But right before my eyes, she had gotten every single spec correct. And thinking back to the roads and flowers, I was getting the impression that she knew a lot about a lot. Hey, just why do you know so much about everything?
年上だからよ。
And with that bare response, she went back to her usual silence. With her staring at the window again, I couldn't find myself able to throw any more questions at her. Older. It really didn't look that way at all, but this was something she'd said before too. Her name was Setsumi. Her blood type was O. Those were written on her white ID bracelet. There is very little indication to show me that she was older than me at all. I don't know, does she have like a photographic memory maybe? Or just a really good memory? Around when the sun started peeking out from under the clouds. The silver coupe speeding along. No destination. No place to go. Just running forward. No more worries about gasoline, but no more money either. Only about 2,000 yen left. Only enough for 3 to 4 more days at most convenience store food. Alright, so now what do you want to do?
質問の意味がわからない。
I mean, that we have no more money left.
だから、
Look, you... Her appearance, as unchanging as ever. And this conversation we were having while eating rice balls bought at the convenience store not long ago. Finally, the fact that even if we were driving along like this, we were using up gasoline little by little. Maybe it might have been better to just stay still without doing anything at all. But it was impossible for me to stay still without doing anything, without shooting for anything. And I kept driving with those feelings at heart. If we just kept driving on normal highways, we'd run out of gas in about 3 days. Likewise, we only had enough for 3 to 4 days worth of food with the 2,000 yen we had left. We were obviously going to become too poor to do anything soon enough. Hey, do you want to try going to this Awaji Island? No reply. She just kept staring at the window as per usual. I think I might want to. She's not gonna say anything? どうして? Well, that's... It wasn't as if we'd escaped from the 7th floor with any goal or destination in mind. Because east or west, no matter where, anything was fine with me. But maybe that's why I wanted the goal and the destination, because anything was fine with me. Around when the daylight had given over to the darkness of night, I'd stopped the car in the parking lot of a pachinko parlor. Obviously, I wasn't planning on winning any money through pachinko or slots. I knew that there wasn't much I could do on just 2,000 yen alone. But if we were skilled enough, I just might be able to swipe 10,000 or 20,000 yen. That was my guess, based on how many times I've been in pachinko parlors in the past. If I only had that much, we'd be okay in the first place, and we might even be able to make it to Awaji Island on that amount. And so, I told her about the plan that I just thought up. How about it? Do you want to try it out?
いや、
Okay, very well. I'd expected it, but she'd shot me down immediately. I hadn't hoped that she'd cooperate with me in the first place. And I told her about my plan as fait accompli, not because I wanted her aid in it. Alright, then wait here. I got out of the car and strode into the pachinko parlor alone. It was more crowded than I thought. Lots of pachinko balls, lots of people, and more importantly, cash boxes crowded everywhere. As good a place as any. And thinking this, I headed over to the slot machines. I inspected them from the corridor for a while, and after having finished my survey, I focused on one set of machines. Lots of middle-aged salarymen. Alright, up to 4 boxes at their feet and up to 2 racks above them, and an empty stand separating each of them. From what I'd seen before, these men hadn't come into acquaintance or friends. This satisfied the requirements. Perhaps in a place like this, no one would notice if I swiped one of those cash boxes. And in a store like this, each one probably held about 20,000 yen or so. And with just that much, I just kept waiting there for one salaryman to go to the bathroom. And after a little while, after roughly 30 minutes had passed, a salaryman finally stood up from his seat. After I tailed him a bit to make sure he was going to the bathroom, I dashed back to the stand that he'd occupied. And watching the people who were hitting the slots and the attendants, I slowly approached that stand. Then, so not as to raise any suspicion, as it were the most natural thing in the world, I swiped one of the cash boxes underfoot. That moment, coins scattered everywhere with a thunderous noise. I'd been meaning to pick it up. No, I really had picked it up with my very own hands, but they were unable to bear that weight, and the cash box crashed onto the floor. Everyone turned in my direction to see what the commotion was all about. I got the feeling that someone was shouting. I got the feeling that someone was running towards me. But that was all behind me. I had already bolted and was less than 2 meters away from the entrance of the establishment by then. I put the engine in ignition in a hurry and floored the pedal. And then I spun the wheel to make my hasty getaway. Just then, wham! Crunch, crunch. I'd run against the curb or something as I turned to make my getaway. Thus the horrible crunching sound. But I accelerated onto the road before me without giving it a second thought. My suddenly constricting, out-of-breath chest and the silver coupe speeding out of daylight and into darkness. I was concerned about the crash a little while ago, but I had to distance myself from that place now. And soon, after 10 minutes of this, a fair distance away from that pachinko parlor, I stopped at some roadside and started to get out to inspect the damage.
大丈夫？
Yeah, it doesn't look too serious. She sounded slightly worried as she called out to me. I answered her as I inspected the damage. There was just a bump on the rear fender and a small crack in the muffler. Didn't look as if there would be any problem driving it like this. I let out a sigh, somewhat relieved. That sucked. I thought back at what had just happened at the pachinko parlor. I'd slipped up there, but had I been a little more skillful, I might have pulled it off. And the reason I wasn't able to hold on to the cash box was because it had been a while since I'd lifted something that heavy. If I'd held on to it with all my strength at the outset, I might have been able to make it.
勘違いしてるわね。
Huh?
今のあなたは以前のあなたとは違うはず。
Yeah, and apparently he was a little bit of a thief or a crook. She spoke as if she'd seen straight through me. But that kind of weight.
同じように考えない方がいい。
Perhaps she was right. I didn't want to admit how changed I was. Fair enough. I hadn't anticipated at all that I could grow this weak. Then what should I do? No answer. Eyes turned in silence toward the window to stare into the dark night sky. This is probably the way she was telling me to give up. Because it's not good. You're not doing a good thing. Also, oh, okay. Chapter 4, The Emerald Sea. What I'm gonna try and do, I think, is do 2 chapters per episode, is what I'm thinking.
心を止めて。
Because from what I understand, I kind of looked up like not a guide, but a chapter guide, and there's 6 chapters in the first game. So if I can do 2 chapters per episode, I think that would be a nice little thing, because I'm not going to be able to get through like 4 chapters today, and if I stop at 3, then there's only 1 left, and it's going to be even shorter. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. And though, also, if you guys were wondering at the pachinko place, 20,000 yen? Was that what he was trying to steal? Yeah, that's about 200 bucks. It's not a ton of money, but in Japanese currency, it all seems like, or feels like you have more money than you actually do.
情報だけを積み重ねる日々。
Days spent gazing at a map, closing my eyes, traveling through unfamiliar roads. One day, the usual monthly magazines, a photograph on a front cover drew my eyes. A female model in a showy swimsuit, provocative poses on a sandy beach, a smile captured right before the Emerald Sea that I'd always dreamed about. She was probably my age, smiling at me happily, cheerfully, with her outstanding figure. It wasn't as if I was jealous or anything. I didn't own any swimsuits to begin with, and I didn't come close to having any need for them. My pajamas were quite enough for me.
いくつもの季節を白い梅雨空を誰とも言葉を交わす必要もなく過ごした。
I
そして
don't
ある日
know.
突然
I I remembered that day, June of the first year of middle school, the day of my first hospitalization. I remembered having ordered a swimsuit. I remembered having done so several years ago now. That day, I remembered that swimsuit had lost its opportunity to be used. Kind of like the driver's license. I took that school swimsuit, new as the day I bought it, out of the drawer where it had patiently waited for years. I took off my usual pajamas and timidly put on that navy blue swimsuit. I was shocked. It had already been years, and yet it fit me as if it had been made for me that very day. And that swimsuit model was smiling at me warmly, smiling at me from the midst of the Emerald Sea. Smiling at me warmly and happily with that beautiful, womanly figure. It was saddening. It wasn't as if I was jealous, no. The truth was that I was probably yearning for it. Yearning for it impossibly, stubbornly, because I knew that it was absolutely impossible.
だけど胸の大きな傷跡が諦めろと諭した。
So sad.
生涯の伴侶は目を閉じた世界にしろと諭した。
Ah, this game. Around the time when the sun slowly anchored down and dyed the western horizon orange, we were on the road as usual. But what should we do now? We really had no more money left to spare.
ねえあなた、
As I thought upon these things, she caught me by surprise by calling out to me.
あなた、お風呂は入れるの？
Yeah, they said I could go ahead unless it was a long, protracted bath.
そう。私も似たようなもんよ。
What she meant by allowed was what I meant by they. And what I meant by they was that the doctors didn't caution us against it. There we go. There had been too many who had been forbidden to do so due to kidney or digestive tract diseases. Or issues, sorry. And now that I thought about it, her problem was probably in her circulatory system, just like me. Well, do you want to take a bath? It's been a while.
悪い。
No, I kind of wanted to as well. Even so, we didn't have enough money to stay at a hotel or an inn. Then, do you want to stop by a public bathhouse?
銭湯？
Yeah, we've got the money for that, at least.
やっぱり。
Yeah, she doesn't want to. What do you mean, fine? It had already been 3 days since we'd escaped from the 7th floor. We were allowed to bathe twice a week there, and had sponge baths twice a day as well. Then again, we weren't getting very sweaty given the season, and since we were in a car, we weren't getting dirty. Could it be that's embarrassing for you to be in a public bathhouse? Don't push the issue. Don't push it.
別に。そんな意味じゃないわよ。
Around the time when the sun had completely disappeared and the moon waxed large in the night sky, some distance away, I found something that looked like a school. This would have to do. I stopped the car before the gates. And then I rummaged in the back seat through the clump of clothing there. If I remembered correctly, there were 2 to 3 towels in this heap. And then, after sifting through a bunch of clothes, I found a hand towel after all. It had the legend, Shiraishi Construction, written on it. Probably one of those appreciation gifts they gave out like candy. Alright then, wait a bit. Taking 2 towels with me, I headed toward the school. I climbed over the closed gates and looked anxiously for my target. Ah, there it is. I found a water faucet station, probably for gardening use. I turned the knob and cold water poured out of the faucet, water cold enough to freeze me stiff. I wet the 2 towels and squeezed them out. Sorry for the wait. Here. I handed over one of the 2 towels to her. And then I took off my sweater and started washing myself. The cold wet towel felt pretty good against the warm heating of the car. Hey, you go ahead and clean yourself too. Like she's gonna be able to do that. It feels nice and cold, too.
わかった。
She was a little reluctant at first, but then she slowly started undoing her buttons. The shirt and jeans that were all too big on her. Unlike me, she simply washed herself by retracting retracing her hands into her shirt.
ね
What is it?
え、見ないでよ。
Yeah, seriously. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's right. She murmured with a wet towel in her hand, her clothes half on, half off. It was the first time I'd seen her look like that, a little annoyed, a little embarrassed. Inside the car, our backs turned to each other. Hey, feels pretty good, eh? Inside the car, shrouded in the dark of night. Drying myself off, reflecting in the glass of the windows, which also reflected her with her back toward me, drying herself off just as I was. She'd taken off her shirt just as I had. I didn't mean to look, but I could see big scars on her chest. Probably post-surgical. Didn't know what for, but they were much larger than mine.
ねえ、あなた。
Huh? Oh, what is it?
そんなに珍しい。
Her back turned to me, speaking to me, reflected in the window. Oh, that's just gonna be where she ends it, huh? I mean, she's self-conscious already, and of course she has scars on her chest. The silver coupe in motion underneath the cloudy skies. Driving around without a destination, as per usual, it was already 3 days later, and nothing had really changed in that time. Along the way, we'd found a free public open-air bath, and since it seemed devoid of people, we were able to take a bath after all. Other than that, we were out of money, and we were running out of gas again. Are you getting tired?
別に。
We exchanged those words while eating convenience store-bought rice balls. They might have been tastier than anything up at the 7th floor, but they were becoming pretty boring by now. But we didn't have enough money to have anything but this kind of meal.
音がうるさい。
Huh? What is that all of a sudden?
車の音。前より大きくなってる。
That's not good. Oh, yeah, fair enough. This is probably because I cracked the muffler when I was escaping for the pachinko parlor. I hadn't really noticed it, but sure enough, the car was sounding louder. Not a real impediment to driving. But the bigger problem was the gas. I'd already been driving for 5 minutes since the meter had bottomed out at empty, and I only had 900 yen left. Unlike last time, this was obviously not enough. And if that car stopped due to lack of gas, we'd be able to do nothing anymore. Having decided, I looked for a gas station, and one that was self-service. I have a feeling he's gonna fill it up and drive off. Having found one, I was actually surprised he didn't do that last time, when he was starting to panic about the price. That he didn't just drive off when the attendant came to his window. I found the car, I stopped the car next to the nearest pump. I'm gonna get some gas.
そう。
But don't get out of the car. No answer, but she probably knew what I meant by that. I opened the cap to the gas tank and snaked in a gas hose. Only one other car at the station, and the little building with an attendant within. Probably there to get payment and give back change. According to the notice on the wall, you're supposed to take the receipt to him when done. We could probably make our getaway right now if we wanted. Is what I felt as I looked around the quiet gas station. 23, 24, 25, 26. The numbers went on the meter. Too slowly, it seemed, unlike last time. I kept wondering uneasily if it wouldn't fill up a little bit faster. And then, after the meter hit 40, right before the tank was full, welcome! For some reason, the attendant, who had been in the building up until now, came rushing towards us. Sir, are your tire pressures and ashtrays okay? Huh? Oh, yeah, they are. I see. Well, it's cold out, so be careful. He even started cleaning the windows as if trying to take good care of us. While he did, the pump detected that the tank was full, and with a business-like sound, spit out a receipt. Oh, please go over there to pay. He stopped wiping the windows for a second and pointed at the building. I held the receipt in my hand in silence and stood completely still, wondering what I should do. Is something the matter, sir? No, it's nothing. For now, I got back into the car. And then I just turned the engine into the ignition. What should I do now? The attendant was washing the rear window by now. So if I floor the accelerator now, then he'd be able to read the license plate number right away. And we'd get arrested just like that. But we had to escape now. Having decided, I floored the clutch. And then, just as I was about to shift from neutral into first gear.
はい。
Huh? What? Go ahead and use what? She abruptly produced an envelope, and then took out a 10,000 yen note and gave it to me. You have money on you? I never had thought that she'd had any. And because of that, we'd had so many hardships up until now. Why didn't you tell me?
あなた、聞いた？
Huh? No, well...
聞かれなかったからよ。
Aww. And with that, she turned back in silence to the window. The silver coupe in motion once more. The tank was full again, and we had a 5,000 yen note as change. But what had just happened was weighing heavily on my mind. Hey, you know... Here, this is all of it. Huh? Before I could get any further, she presented the envelope to me. Can I use this?
別にいいわよ。
I looked into the envelope, and there were 4 10,000 yen notes inside. This would be enough. But now there was something entirely different on my mind. Why did she have this much money on her? The couple thousand yen that I'd brought with me were just whatever I had on hand at the time. But in her case, it was as if she'd prepared for this all in advance. Hey, you know, you said you didn't want to die on the 7th floor, right?
家だって嫌よ。
Yeah, same here. But when exactly, or where exactly did you want to go? Didn't you prepare this money just for that purpose? And then I remember what she told me earlier, that she was going to go somewhere while she still could. And she asked me, do you want to stop me or come with me? So in truth, there is somewhere you want to go.
別に
That's not much of an answer.
どこもないわよ。
That was all she murmured, desolately, sadly. And if that was the case, she had been preparing for a trip all by herself without having a destination in mind this entire time? It did make me wonder who would do such a lonely thing. But as I gazed at her lonely-looking profile, I found my answer. She would.
じゃあ、あなたはどうなの？
Me? Not really.
真似しないでよ。
I'm not imitating you. We kept driving along without a destination. One had escaped from the 7th floor without a second thought. The other had made futile preparations without a destination. But right now, anywhere is fine with me. But I want to go somewhere. At least for me, I wanted a path to follow. I was fine with anything as long as it was a path. Hey, how about that Awaji Island you were talking about earlier? We can get there with the money we have. Really, anywhere would have been fine, as long as it wasn't the 7th floor or home, as long as we could get there. But we couldn't just wander around aimlessly. I wanted to head towards a destination, no matter what that destination was. What about you? Want to try going there?
別に
With that, she turned back to the window in her usual silent fashion. Those same eyes, the same as ever, looking somewhere into the distance. Just what could she be looking at? Just what was she hoping for when she came with me? I don't know, because I think there's only 6 chapters. I know this episode is going to be a little bit short, but just in case the other 2 chapters, like, I will finish this game in the next video. So I wanted to do those 2. That was my mental plan, at least, because if I do chapter 5 now, and it pans out to be like an hour-long video, then the last video is only going to be like maybe 20-30 minutes at most. So I'll go ahead and leave this episode here. I'm sorry, but we will go to Awajishima in the next episode and probably finish the first chapter of Narcissu. So either way, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you enjoyed. I'll see you guys on the next MAMJ. Let's play. Yo, you here again? What's wrong? Feeling bad again? While looking out the window, that was all the girl replied with. In the end, it seemed that the girl's temporary discharge had been postponed. With that, I didn't know when the next opportunity would be, but most likely the postponement was not a few days, but weeks. Say, I'm just wondering, but today, were you faking sickness? Well, the term faking sickness itself might have been a bit strange, since after all, we couldn't really be said to be in a normal condition.